Hey everyone, Cloud here, and welcome to my guide on the Zombie Slayer assignments. In this guide we'll be talking about the following: the requirements in order to kill them effectively, which Slayer Masters assign them as a task, best location to do the task, best strategy using their weaknesses, recommended equipment from lowest to highest, tips and tricks, and of course the key drops from them. Now you can choose to watch a certain part of this guide if you wish, or just click the play all option. Make sure you have the YouTube annotations turned on. So like a lot of other Slayer assignments, zombies cover a wide variety of different monsters, and that there's literally about 10 different types of monsters you can fight that would count as a zombie kill in your Slayer assignment. However, we're going to talk about specific 3. 2 of these 3 are found in the same location, they're just different combat levels to each other, and one of them is a lot more sort of higher up. So the first 2 we're going to talk about is the sort of standard zombie, which can be found in the drainer sewers, and these are level 18 zombies and level 42 zombies. So to fight these particular zombies, no specific Slayer level is required, and a minimal combat level will be required to kill them effectively. A little bit of enemy information for you. So the level 18 combat zombies have 450 life points. They do a melee based attack with max hit up to 36, and then the level 42 zombies are basically like a harder version of the one I just mentioned, with more life points, etc. So they have 1050 life points. Again, they use a melee based attack, however this time their max hit is 105. So no specific Slayer items required to kill either one of these, and I would advise having 10 magic and defense to at least fight the 18s, and perhaps like 20-25 magic and defense to fight the level 42s, but I'll get onto that a bit further on. The only other zombie I will mention, which is the third type I mentioned, is the armoured zombies. So once again, for the armoured zombies, no specific Slayer level is required to kill them. However, you must have completed the Defender of our quest in order to actually fight them. A combat level, you're going to want quite a decent one to sort of hold your own against these, but then again there's also a very close altar that you can have access to, which I'll speak about a bit later on, meaning you don't have to have as high of combat level as you normally would. So I recommend probably about 70-80 plus combat level before you sort of decide to fight these instead of the normal zombies. So as I said, these armoured zombies have a combat level of 124, they have 6,200 life points, they attack with melee again, and there are some ranged ones as well, however the melee ones are more occurrent, and their max hit is 240 average. That is a little bit higher now and again. Same as the other ones, no specific Slayer item is required to kill them, and like I said, you're going to want a fairly sort of high attack, strength and defense combat stat in order to fight them effectively. But as I mentioned, there is a nearby altar to the location you fight them, so that kind of makes up for some of it. So on that hand, you want quite a decent prayer level, at least able to use protect from melee or deflect melee, just to sort of hold your own against them. But that's it for the requirements in order to defeat them. Now is which Slayer Masters assign them as a task. So the first Slayer Master, or Slayer Masters I should say, to assign them as a task is Churel or Spira. Spira replaces Churel after the Wild Gothic Sleeps quest. They can be found in Tavali, literally southeast of the Lodestone. You see the Slayer icon on the minimap. There are no requirements in order to use them as a Slayer Master, however I recommend having at least 20 combat before you start asking for frequent Slayer tasks from them, just to speed up the assignments, and they assign anywhere between 15 to 50 zombies. The only other Slayer Master to assign them as a task is Majta or Makna, I don't know how you pronounce it, but you'll know who I mean, the red guy. The requirements in order to use him, you must have completed the Priest and Peril quest, because he can be found in Canifis, quite close to the Canifis Lodestone actually, which makes quite getting back to him quite quick and quite effective, so that will speed up your assignments dramatically. However, I recommend having at least 40 combat before asking him for frequent tasks, and he assigns anywhere between 40 to 85 zombies per task. But that's it for the Slayer Masters. Next is best location to do the task. So as I mentioned at the beginning, there's 3 different types of zombies we're going to be talking about during this guide. However, 2 of them can actually be found in the same location, which is in the Drainer sewers. So easiest way to get there, if you teleport to the Drainer village Lodestone, which you can unlock while travelling past it, you'll notice there's 2 entrances to the sewer. One that's just near the actual market, and another one that's near the jailhouse, but both entrances and exits connect to each other, so it basically goes all the way around. And once you're inside the sewer, you'll travel around, and there are a few skeletons near one side of them, but you can obviously ignore those. If you make your way to the sort of middle section of the sewer, you'll then be between where the level 18 zombies are and the level 42 zombies. Now, as far as I know, they're not aggressive, so it then leaves it to you to decide which one you're going to fight. Now, obviously, both of them are weak to the same thing, which is magic, so actually you're able to fight them at quite a distance. So if you're sort of tactical enough and you're worried about having damage dealt on you, this is obviously if you're fighting the level 42s and you're a low combat level, you can sort of attack them from far away with your magic, and as they get closer, sort of move around a little bit further and continue fighting them. That way there's not actually much chance of them inflicting much damage on you. But like I said, if you're not really confident enough to fight the 42s, if you're literally just starting with Slayer, start with the 18s, and then eventually when you get stronger and get another zombie task, then you can upgrade. The drops in that are exactly the same. It's the XP rate which is going to be obviously higher if you fight the 42, so you're going to get obviously more combat XP from them and more Slayer XP, but these are very easy to find, so you can't really go wrong with these zombies. And as for the armoured zombies, which is the other zombie group we're talking about, like I said, you must have completed the Defender of Varrock quest in order to be able to fight these effectively. Now, they used to be able to be accessed through the wilderness, which they technically still are. However, you now can't reach them going through the wilderness like normal. You have to speak to Heartwind, who you speak to during the quest, who will take you to a safe version of the wilderness. So the kind of bonus for this is you haven't got to risk getting killed by PvPers as you're travelling to this location. So you're safe to sort of go outside and use the prayer altar like I mentioned. But Heartwind can be found in Varrock Castle. He's in the northwest tower, I believe, and you go up a couple of floors and you can speak to him and he'll take you to the Chaos altar. Obviously there's the altar and you've got the trapdoor right next to it, and as you go down you'll see there's about 8 different armoured zombies right near the entrance. Now I'd advise fighting these ones only because you have close access to the ladder and you can literally jump up and down, recharging your prayer every time it gets low. So the bonus for this is obviously with a close access to the prayer altar, you ain't got to worry about prayer potions and you can activate as many prayers as you like. So obviously if you're not high enough for soul split, obviously I'm using my main character showing you this, you can use things like deflect, melee and that to lessen the damage on them or protect from melee, etc. Obviously any stat boosts in players will be good as well, so any stats that's going to boost your attack, strength, defense is definitely going to be recommended. But you can see here obviously I can fight multiples of them at the same time using multiple hitting abilities like Hurricane and Quake. You have to fight a lot of them in one go and you just get a constant sort of stream of XP from them then. Also these guys drop pretty good stuff now and again, which I'll mention a bit further on. So obviously if you complete Defender of Varrock quest, you're still a low Slayer level and you're still getting zombies as a task. I definitely recommend fighting these. That way you get both very good combat XP and good Slayer XP and some nice loot as well. So, but that's it for best location to do the task. Next is strategy using their weaknesses. So this is obviously going to depend on what zombies you're fighting. So the 2 zombies that you'll fight in the Drainer sewers are both weak to fire spells and the effects of the Salve Amulet. Now the Salve Amulet is a reward you get from the Haunted Mine quest, I believe, and from where I last remember it does 15% damage increase to any sort of undead monsters, so zombies, skeletons, etc, etc. So if you have the Salve Amulet, it can be a very good one to use, especially if you're not able to use amulets like Amulet Fury, etc. And like as I mentioned, they are weak to majority combat styles, however they are very weak to the fire spell. So obviously the best fire type spell you can use, you want to cast as like an auto spell, and then any abilities you use with that auto casted will be able to inflict some very high damage on them. And the bonus is obviously using magic as well. You're able to fight them at a distance as they use melee, so by the time they get to you, you can basically sort of get a good distance away from them again and then carry on doing damage. So obviously if you're going to fight the low level zombies, the 18s, you're going to only need at least like 10 magic and defense. However, if you're going to fight the 42s, I recommend having at least 20 magic and defense just to increase your accuracy and damage output against them. But that is it for the 18s and 42s. Now onto the armoured zombies. So they're very weak to slash type weapons, so obviously you can kill them with any combat style you like. If you've got magic and range, which is much higher, use that. However, slash type weapons are going to be the best way to defeat them, so obviously melee is your best method there. I recommend using two-handed weapon or dual wielding to kill them effectively. Obviously dual wielding will be going for more speed and accuracy rather than damage, and obviously the other hand to that, if you're using two-handed, you're going to do high damage damage output, but the accuracy is going to be less. So it's completely up to you what you prefer, and everyone's got their own preferences. But obviously for the armoured zombies, you're going to want a fairly decent combat level to fight against them. I'm not too sure really what melee strength defense to recommend, because it's more going to rely on your prayer, as if you've got at least 43 plus prayer, you have access to protect from melee, and you'll have access to an altar right outside, so you're going to be able to constantly use your prayers to your advantage. So that's obviously going to make the requirements to fighting them a lot lower than what they normally would be against those sort of monsters. So I'll leave it up to you. Their combat level is 124, so I recommend if you have a combat level of around sort of 70-ish, and that will obviously include attack, strength, defense, and magic and range and health points. But as long as you've got fairly decent setup there, then you should have no problems at all. And also the other thing I forgot to mention, they are also weak against the effects of the Salve Amulet. However, it might be more worth your time using an Amulet of Fury or something if you've got access to that. But that is it for strategies using their weaknesses. Next is recommended equipment from lowest to highest. Okay, so for the recommended equipment, I'm going to go a bit quicker through this than normal, because there's obviously two different setups we've got to use here. If you're going to be fighting the low-level zombies in the drain of sewage, you're going to be using magic as your recommended output. However, if you're going to fight armoured zombies, melee is going to be your recommended output. So I'm just going to literally go through this quite quickly. Obviously, I'd normally do the recommended equipment in tiers, because obviously as your defense level increases, you can unlock new tiers of armor. So for magic, obviously when you're first starting off, you're only going to be able to use things like wizard robes, imp hide robes, etc. And then you'll get to things like spider silk. So spider silk is probably the minimum armor I recommend. Obviously you've got the equivalent staff to go with it, so as your levels increase, you're able to use better staffs, and theirs is what's going to increase your damage output and accuracy. So obviously armor is only going to boost your defense pretty much, in life points of course. So obviously after Spider Silk, you then get into the access of like the Mystic Robes armor set, and obviously there are various ones as well. Dark Light, I can't remember what the other one's called now. It's a bit bad. Then you obviously get up into the other tiers, so you get like Split Bark armor, Batwing robes, Enchanted robes. Then you get even further up into Infinity Robes, Griffith armor, Lunar armor if you've obviously done the quest. Then you get into really sort of high level armors, which I don't think you'll be really using against these zombies, because obviously by the time you reach this level to use this armor, you shouldn't be getting zombies as a task, unless it's obviously armored zombies. But you get like a Rims armor set, Robes Subjugation, Ganodermic armor, and Sea Singer's robes. So obviously, as you can see, as your defense and magic is increasing, you also get much better tiers of armor, which is going to improve your overall defense and life points. So obviously for weapons and that, it's your choice whether you want to use wands or battle staffs and that, but obviously they're going to increase each time. So obviously near the beginning, you're only going to be able to use like elemental staffs and that. So if you're using fire type spells, which I recommended, you're going to want really a staff of fire, so you don't have to use the fire runes anymore. And obviously as they level up, you'll turn into battle staffs, mystic battle staffs, and eventually you'll get towards like staff of light, master wands. So you know, it's absolutely up to you. All I ever say is, whatever your defense level is, you want to use the closest to the maximum, the best defense armor you can use. Obviously, money comes into the account of it as well. But obviously, the better magic armor you've got, the more damage you can be able to take from the zombies. And then obviously if you're fighting the armoured zombies, you're going to be using the best sort of slash damage output, which obviously is really going to rely on your weapon, but obviously you're going to want good melee defense to go with it. Now, as you're using prayer, and you've got quite close to prayer armor, the sort of very minimum prayer armor, the minimum armor set even, sorry, I recommend using is the Initiate armor, which is level 30 defense to use, I believe, and you need to complete the recruitment drive quest, but it gives you a very good prayer bonus, so obviously your prayer drain will be a lot less, so it makes having to go to and from the altar less frequent. And obviously white 2H sword or dual wielding white weapons is obviously going to be what you want to use there. Again, as you start leveling up, you'll be able to use mithril and adamant armor sets, so obviously you'll be sacrificing the prayer bonus you get from the initiate, but you'll be getting much higher defense and life point bonus, and again the equivalent of that will be adamant 2H or dual wielding adamant weapons. Obviously then you'll get towards rune so rune armor set, the full set of that will be best to use, and again the defense and life points are increasing. Rune 2H or dual wielding rune weapons would be ideal there. Then you get towards dragon armor, which will be around the level sort of 60 section. Obviously here you start getting more access, so you can either use a dragon type weapon, or you might have the level to use like an abyssal whip and another weapon. As long as they're slash type weapons, you can use whatever you like really, whatever's the highest you can use. And then obviously when you start getting really high up, you'll be able to start using things like Tetsu armor from player own ports and that, or Drygor weapons, etc, Torva, but really I don't think you're going to be really using as high armor sets as that, because obviously it's only the two Slayer Masters who assign the zombies as a task. So obviously when your Slayer level gets much higher, you're going to stop asking for tasks and you're going to stop receiving zombies as a task. So this is more going to be beneficial for someone who's got a really high combat level but barely any Slayer level at all. So obviously if you've got access to this sort of equipment and you can fight armoured zombies effectively, definitely do that. It's going to speed up your tasks immensely. You're going to get some Slayer levels up pretty quickly as well. But yeah, literally that's a quick overview of recommended equipment right there. I haven't gone into too much detail like I normally would, but to be honest, obviously it's either quite apparent you're either going to use magic or use melee. So obviously if you're using magic, use the best magic output you can, and obviously magic defense. And again the same for if you're going to be using melee and slash type weapons, you're going to go for the best melee output there as well. But that's it for recommended equipment. Now on to tips and tricks. So I don't really have many tips and tricks for this guide as I usually would. The main one mostly around the low level zombies, 18 and 42. So obviously if you're using magic, the main tip and trick I have there is to save using resources and that, fight the zombies at a far distance, because obviously as they're melee they need to get up to you before they can start inflicting damage. As you notice they start getting closer, you can basically run the opposite direction to them, so again they need to catch up to you again before they start doing damage. So by doing that, you're keeping away from them and using magic at the same time, so you're able to dispatch them quite quickly and that, and then also you're saving yourself resources. However, if you've got quite a decent defense level, you don't need to worry about wasting time doing that. And obviously the zombies don't really drop many good things. However, if you keep collecting the bones, especially if you're only just sort of starting off with your character, you're going to want to get prayer up quite quickly. The easiest way to do this is if you collect all bones and then make one of your hotkeys, as you'll see in the action bar, to bury bones option. All you got to do is press that key quickly and you bury all the bones in your bag in no time flat. So much quick way to get prayer experience there. And obviously the main tip and trick for obviously fighting the armoured zombies is, as I've mentioned a few times, is the altar outside. So with that altar you don't have to worry about running it out of prayer at all. So you can use any stat boosting prayer you want and any protective prayer that you want, and you can literally just keep recharging the prayer as often as you like. So obviously the more prayers you use and the prayer drain rate is going to be quicker, so obviously you don't want to do it at the point where you're literally going to the altar every 30 seconds, something like that, because obviously it's not going to be very sort of effective in killing all the armoured zombies. However, it's a nice little balance to have that as a backup, and you'll do much more damage than you normally would by using the stat boosting prayers. And obviously where all the armoured zombies will fight you at the same time, multiple hitting attacks like Hurricane and Earthquake, they're going to be the best ones to use, as you're going to inflict a lot of damage on all of them at the same time. You'll make dispatching of them much more easier, get some fast XP and get some good loot as well, hopefully. So but that is it for the tips and tricks section. Now on to key drops and rewards from them. So obviously the rewards and XP rate are going to differ between each three of these zombies. Obviously the first two aren't going to be very good loot rewards. However, obviously the Slayer XP you get from them will be obviously varying. So obviously if you fight the level 18s, you will get 8 Slayer experience per zombie, and then obviously if you fight the level 42 zombies, your Slayer XP is going to be a little bit higher. You're going to end up getting 13 Slayer XP, so not much difference, but enough to still bump you up a couple of levels there and again. And then obviously for the armoured zombies it's going to be a lot higher. So the armoured zombies will give you 124 Slayer experience for each one killed. So obviously a lot higher, but obviously there's more requirements in order to fight these guys. So as for the key drops to collect, obviously these are going to differ between the two different types of zombies, or three I should even say. But obviously the 18s and 42 zombies drop a variety of herbs which are worth collecting, because you can get some quite good herbs there, which are worth a fair bit of money in the grand exchange, especially if you're starting off. As for weapons and armour, they don't really drop many good armour and weapons, however they do drop iron type weapons, iron arrows, steel arrows and mithril arrows, which are worth collecting. Most of the arrows though, because obviously they're stackable, and also they drop a variety of runes as well, so definitely recommended collecting those as well. And then for the armoured zombies, it's a little bit similar. So again, they drop a whole variety of herbs. Obviously the drop rate of them is a lot more quicker, so definitely recommended to collect those. And again, they drop a variety of runes as well, again a lot more common and a lot more higher quantity, so definitely recommended collecting them as well. As for like weapons and armour, they drop mithril arrows quite frequently, so definitely recommended collecting them. They also collect adamant kite shield and rune full helmets, where if you have access to a high alchemy spell and bring the runes to use it, you can high alch them to save you inventory space, and you also get the same amount of money as you would in a grand exchange from them. Other things they drop that you can look out for is obviously coins, pure essence, planks. They drop a variety of different planks, and they also drop like things like ancient effigies, which are also worth collecting as well. And then also, I believe this applies to the low level zombies as well, but all of them have access to the rare drop table, so most of the rare drop table is worth very good money. If you're lucky enough, you might get something from that, which definitely makes the task a lot more better and a lot more worthwhile doing. I believe the highest drop you can get from the rare drop table at the moment is worth around 25 mil, so very good if you end up getting that from a level 42 zombie. However, it's very rare to get a high amount just like that, so obviously the way to improve that chance is by using a ring of wealth. That will obviously increase the chance slightly in order to unlock things from the rare drop table. One thing I forgot to mention in the tips and tricks section is obviously there are new items that have been in the game for a while now called magic note paper, which enables you to use an item on one of these magic note papers to turn it into a noted item, so therefore you can stack loot a lot easier. So if you've got a magic note paper in your bank, I definitely recommend bringing it with you. That way you can save on inventory space and collect a lot more loot than normal. I think the magic note papers are about 200 GP each, so obviously they need to be practical enough for you to buy them, so I definitely wouldn't bother buying them for the low level zombies. However, if you're going to be fighting the armoured zombies quite frequently, definitely bring magic note paper along with that, so you can turn your herbs into noted herbs and stack them up, etc. So yeah, just makes your overall loot from the task a lot higher. But yeah, that's it for my guide. It was a little bit more difficult making this guide because I was basically talking about different types of zombies in each one. However, hopefully it's helped you, and hopefully I haven't confused you too much. I have kind of tried to split them apart from each other just so it makes sense. But obviously, you know, again, you're not going to be fighting the armoured zombies at all unless you complete the Defender of Varrock quest, which has its own requirements to start with. So you may even find by the time you've done that quest that you're not able to actually get zombies as a task anymore anyway. So it's more going to be the level 18 and 42 zombies that I reckon you'll be fighting in this guide, as it will be lower level players who are only just starting with the game and you're not too sure what's the best sort of way to kill them effectively. Either way, I have worked hard on this guide, so please don't forget to like, comment, favourite, subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you all very much, and happy slaying.